You've got champagne tastes on water budget. And I don't care if you have nice logos. You ain't got shit.
I think that you brought something interesting up that we can talk about today on Vox and Coin, which is, what is the minimum to make a channel work?
Ooh, so this is fun.
Like, yes, everybody wants to be lean and mean with their marketing dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And it can be challenging to understand when I've done enough on a channel to make a call on how that channel is going to do for me.
There are a few ways to answer this, and it's different channel by channel.
And I think that's what we do today.
All right, let's do it. Let's hit it.
So, since we're talking about ads, let's start at ads.
Let's start at ads.
What is, for any size business, because I think this is generally true, there's kind of a minimum number.
Yeah.
What's like a good, hey, if you spend this on a channel, on one ad platform, you will get a result that is meaningful.
$50 a day is
like the barest.
Bare minimum. I mean, like, look, can you spend less than that? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To have an effect that's valuable, $50 a day per channel would be like, don't spend anything less than that unless you know what you're doing.
Sure.
And if you're listening to the podcast, you also may be an entrepreneur who's also having to run your marketing because you're like in the startup phase. I'm telling you, it's not worth it unless you're going to spend at least $50 a day on the channel. There are people that will say otherwise that have big followings but don't make a whole lot of money. We helped our clients make trackable dollars last year, well over $400 million in total between SEO and ads. Listen to us. We're helping people make money. Like, I'm sorry, there are guys that I know, they're like, I've got 80,000 followers on Twitter, spend $1 a day on Twitter ads. No, don't do that. That's dumb. Don't do that.
I think the important thing, at least from our rapport and what we've both put out as content, is there are secret sauces.
Yep.
But we're going to tell you the recipe.
Totally.
Because ultimately, agency life, we're not here to have a secret recipe.
No.
We're execution.
Totally.
That's the benefit of working with an agency, is you don't have to do anything. You just trade this money and all that stuff happens magically and probably better than you could have done it on your own.
1,000%. The thing is, I never feel, whenever I give out secret sauce, I'm actually giving out the secret sauce, believing that the people that are listening and watching are not going to be able to go execute at the same level that we can, not because people aren't smart.
Yeah.
Just like I shouldn't go run QuickBooks for the companies.
I was just going to say, you can go on YouTube and learn haircutting techniques. But cutting your own hair,
not advisable.
It doesn't tend to turn out all right.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a two buzz all over.
Sure, there are exceptions to the rules. There's always an exception.
Okay, so $50 a day minimum on a channel.
Yeah.
What would be like, I want to do better than the minimum. I want to do like enough that it feels better, and it maybe has better traction because of more spend.
So there are levels to the game. When you're playing on a prominent channel in advertising.
Okay.
Prominent channels being Google, Meta, YouTube. When you think about digital advertising, you think about those platforms prominently. Amazon. You're going to need to spend more, like a lot more, in order to feel that bigger bump.
Does spending more without changing anything else garner better results?
Not necessarily. I wish that it did, and it can happen, right? But it's all about who you're targeting, right? So like, as a, for instance, of the other direction, if I was retargeting people on Meta and that had gone to the website, had engaged with our Instagram page in the past 60 days or our Facebook page in the past 60 days or whatever. If I was retargeting those people, I could spend as little as $5 to $10 a day to have someone go back to my website and make a purchase every day for $5 or $10. The ROAS on that's going to be really high. The engagement's going to be really high. The frequency rate's going to be really high. Frequency rate, again, the amount of times our ad is showing up to an individual user on average. So what's going to happen with that piece of the budget, if you're spending, $50, $100, $300 a day, that piece is going to be really, really, really efficient. On the flip side, if I took the same audience there and said, hey, I'm not going to spend $10 a day, I'm going to spend $500 a day, your CPM would just go through the roof. You would show up all the time. You wouldn't get as many conversions. You'd have diminishing returns.
Because you're fishing in a tiny pond.
Tiny pond. Versus, let me spend $10 a day in the retargeting campaign. Let me go spin up another campaign. We're going to spend $300.
Okay.
And it's cold traffic to drive to my site, people that have never heard of me. My favorite thing to do is cold traffic, drive them to the site, have them engage with the page, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, become a follower. Those are great cold pieces of the funnel. Middle piece of the funnel, I want them to engage with a video longer or go have a landing page view.
Mm-hmm.
Last part of that funnel, direct response, go make a purchase and or retarget them. I love both and. So really with that model, you'd have at least 2 campaigns with multiple ad creatives. So multiple visuals, multiple videos, multiple instances of copy. Up top, one's likes and follows, and one is like just cold traffic. Then you'd have another set of campaigns that is just go look at a specific product, right? And do a landing page view, because that's another piece of the pie you could do on Meta. And then that last one is, again, 2 campaigns, multiple ads, multiple pieces of creative. We're saying, hey, go make a purchase, or just retargeting them with a catalog that basically shows them the products that they've already looked at if you're doing e-com. Spending $300 a day in that format would probably get you a 3-to-1 or better ROAS.
Okay.
And then if you combine that with the ROAS from the just pure retargeting campaign of anybody that's accessed the website in the past 180 days, 90 days, whatever, that one may have a 7 to 12 ROAS. So I think that there's some ways that you can manipulate the algorithm to get there. If you're on a lesser known platform, Pinterest, Reddit, Snapchat, you could take that $50 a day, turn it into $100 a day. You're probably going to be able to run the exact same creative and have a better increase in your ROAS because you're just going to get more eyeballs on it.
Right.
And it's just purely the platform, the way that they work.
So let's ask a more dangerous question.
So fun.
I did all that.
Okay.
I want to go to the next bracket of spend.
Yeah, for just...
Are there any checkpoints in daily or monthly spend where you're like, when you hit that, that's real? Like, that's a significant milestone.
Yeah, so if we're just talking about digital ads, the milestones that you're going to hit that are going to feel meaningful. When you start spending $500 a day on a singular channel or platform, when you start spending $1,000 a day, that's when really, whether that's individual or collective, you're spending 30 grand a month, you're going to feel that. The reason why I say that is, let's say that you keep that 3-to-1 ROAS across the board.
Yeah.
When you're spending $3 grand a month and you get a 3-to-1 ROAS, you made $9 grand.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like,
minus
don't get me wrong.
Minus your 3 investment.
Minus your 3 investments, you've made 6, minus probably a third of that for inventory costs.
Sure.
Now you're down to 3.
Yeah.
Right? If you 10x that and go from 3 grand a month to 30 grand a month, and you have the exact same costs structure, then it's like, oh, we're doing 30 grand goes towards ads, take that away from the 90. Then we've got 30 grand for inventory, and now there's 30 grand left over.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We're in a different convo. And I think that that's where it goes, dude, let's figure that one out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that's kind of.
Is there any exponential growth to it in spend, or is it exponential decay?
You can get both. It's actually a matter of where you hit it.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So imagine you are digging for gold.
Okay.
And you go from using, a pickaxe in a mine. I'm thinking in a mine. I don't know
Yeah.
why. You could be panning for gold, but in a mine
Are
just
you
made
calling
sense.
me a dwarf? Is that what you're saying?
This is just saying
I
oh, that's the song that my wife sings to me. Listen. So, anyways,
This isn't a PG show.
that's not. So I think that there are moments where you're digging for gold and you get into a vein and you're like, it's just 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. And then you hit a pocket that opens up and you're in a cavern of gold. And you could turn around and pick something off the wall and you're getting 5, 6, 7, 8-1. And it's because you actually spent more. And I find that most people find that somewhere between 10,000 a month on a platform and 50,000 a month on a platform. Most people find a new pocket where they are making exponentially more money in that platform than they were when they were spending half of that before.
Okay.
That being said, that pocket could be from 10 to 15. It could be from 45 to 55, right? Like it could be,
You don't know how deep it is.
Don't know how deep. And the other thing that can happen too is you can max out. We've got a client that's doing this right now that's making a shift. You can max out a channel.
Interesting.
Right? So you could be like, oh, we're spending on Google. We're spending $30K a month. It's crushing.
Yep.
Let's spend a 50. You spend a 50, and to get 5 more results, you spend an extra 10K. The diminishing returns, right?
Yes.
You start to see the decay. And so I think that it's always playing with the numbers. I have seen too, on rare exceptions and occasions, that you will hit let's say that you hit that number at 50, the diminishing returns happen, you go back to 30. I have seen some brands say, hey, we're going to be bold this month. We know that we get diminishing returns at 50. What if we spend 120? What could we get? Would that actually help us? Now, with search, just search, not talking about display on Google, not talking about YouTube advertising, not talking about any of that, just search. There's a finite volume.
Finite volume.
So that's going to be hard. But on other platforms, sometimes having a higher frequency with a lot more creative, you do have to lay the creative groundwork for this, can get you the results you're looking for. So
Interesting.
now when it comes, so we've been talking a lot about ads.
Yeah.
When it comes to SEO,
Yes.
what's the, because it's not just about how much you're spending per se, it's about the backlinks. It's really about the work that you're getting. What's the minimum viable amount of SEO output you should be looking for from an in-house team, agency? Like, what's the thing that's actually going to move the dial? And then how much, generally speaking, would that cost?
So with SEO, there's 4 main pillars that we're looking at that are, if you want to call them, the levers of your SEO.
Okay.
The first, and the one everyone knows, is content. Content can manifest in a lot of different ways. But generally speaking, content is a combination of text and imagery. What we say as a bare minimum, I would not go less than this, is 8 content updates or additions to your site per month. So that doesn't have to be, we just pumped out 8 blogs.
Right.
It could be, hey, we made a, significant or meaningful change to the homepage copy. We added a new service page. We wrote a case study. We did a new portfolio section. We wrote a detailed section on a vendor. Whatever it is, we're talking new or updated content on the site that has significance. So if you update one line, not enough.
Okay.
It's got to feel functionally improved.
Got it.
or at least different. Sometimes, and this is a wild thing about SEO, sometimes you can go in and just rewrite a paragraph, same content, just rewrite it, and it can kickstart a whole slew of things. Now, there's some reason behind that. Well, we won't go into that on this podcast because it's stupid deep.
Yeah.
But it can be that simple.
Okay.
It can be that simple.
Okay.
So content. The next pillar is your technical optimization. And this gets confusing because there's actually two different parts of technical optimization. There is an SEO technical optimization, which is a lot of data is being passed to Google under the hood.
Got it.
This manifests in things like image alt text, interlinking, your meta descriptions and titles, and schema markup, just to name a couple.
Okay.
Now, each of those has their own strategies and analyses. Again, we're not going to go into the details of how to execute, but that's one half of technical. That's the SEO side of technical. There's a performance side of technical as well. Does your page freaking load? As dumb as that sounds, that's a metric. And it's split. It also cares about, does your mobile load?
Mm-hmm.
That's why when we do testing for any website that we're working on or page that we're working on, we test it 3 different times. We test it once on a desktop at the fastest internet speeds available on the internet.
Okay.
We're also going to test it on mobile on the fastest speeds available, but we're also going to test it on mobile at a 4G connection.
Ooh, that's fun.
And the reason why that's important to know is, and if you don't know this, you have some distribution data of whether you're being accessed mobile or desktop.
Right.
But Google indexes the version of the page that it uses for SEO is your mobile version.
Wow.
And I can tell you, because I've done this a while, 90% of businesses only look at their desktop.
It's true. Drives me nuts.
And your mobile might be okay. You know, we have responsive design now as a concept that's on every platform. And so it should be good.
Sure.
But go look at your website on mobile.
Yep.
Go just take a look and go, would I be on this site? Your answer might be no. Be honest about it.
Yeah.
That can help you. So that's technical performance optimization.
Okay.
So those are 2 knobs, kind of in the same bucket. Your third is your user experience. This is, do people use your site? So some of the speed optimizations kind of blend over into this a little bit, but also, does your font look nice? Google uses font sizing as an SEO metric.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that just for the header tags? Is that the idea?
Here's a little trick you can use. If you're struggling with a keyword, a very specific keyword, go onto your page that's struggling to beat out the competition and just bold that keyword. See what happens. You might find you like it. So you need to make sure your website's enjoyable to use. Buttons work. Navigation is easy. One of the things you can do is install a CRO tool.
Yep.
That will allow you to analyze customer visits and try and catch some of those things. A lot of the good
Do you
tools.
have some favorite tools that we don't have affiliates with that people could just pick up and go check out?
Well, if you want to do this absolutely at a free cost, that's $0.99.
Love
Okay.
that number.
Microsoft Clarity
Yep.
is 100% free to use and install.
Nice.
It is basic,
Very basic.
but it works.
Does.
And it will give you the starting point for this. So go check that out. It's not going to cost you a dime. And you can look at these customer journeys. You can see things like scrollbacks, rage clicks, lost journeys where they don't know where to go.
I'll tell you my favorite for the price. I have two. One is Hotjar.
Hotjar is a classic.
I think that you can get screen recordings of people using it. You can see where their finger is, where their mouse is, if they're on desktop. It gives you an idea of where they're getting lost. It also has the ability to do, and we started doing this years and years ago, back when Hotjar was in its infancy. And we had the Facebook and Instagram ad agency. We started to put questionnaires at the bottom of every single site when somebody went to go click out. So imagine somebody's about to go like flick out of the browser or click out or whatever. And instead of doing that, they get a little pop-up that says, hey, why didn't you make a purchase? And you can have 3 like pre-written answers, up to 3, and you can have another. And one of the things that we found with the Facebook and Instagram ad agency years and years ago, 48.4% of people didn't make a purchase. This was across dozens of sites. Big brands, small brands, didn't matter. Didn't make a purchase because free shipping wasn't offered.
Yep.
So yes, recommend that one. We're also looking into another partner that we're actually meeting with them on Thursday, which I'm excited to chat with them.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's even other tools out there that will let you do inline A/B testing through a JavaScript injection. So if you're like, does this button need to say more info or does it need to say contact us? You can actually test that.
It's wild.
Very quickly. So anyways, user experience. The reason why user experience is important in SEO is because Google has Google Chrome. Every Google Chrome use of your website, that experience is sending that Hotjar data, is sending that Microsoft Clarity data back to Google. And so if Google goes, hey, these people got lost, they were there for 39 seconds and they left, maybe they weren't a good click. And the last element, the fourth lever you can pull is authority. And authority is the hardest lever to pull, but it is the most impactful lever overall. And what it is other websites mentioning you. Mentions of your brand across the internet matter significantly. So if you have a restaurant that does Italian food in Chicago, and there's another Italian food restaurant in Chicago, there's a few of them.
Just a few.
And your brand across all of the data that Google has, which is a terrifying amount of data. You get mentioned 10 times and the other guy gets mentioned 50 times. Who do you think Google wants to show?
Yeah.
Right? So working towards getting more mentions across the internet, those are the 4 levers you can pull.
Got it. What is that usually? Because the mentions, there are different ways to go about that, right?
Absolutely.
There's like a PR push, there's paid backlinks, there's even it's a lower ranking, but just having like a social media post that's linked back to your site, if it gets retweeted or reposted or whatever, that gives it a small bump from my understanding.
Absolutely.
But it's not nothing. It's a positive. It's just not as big as if it was like your local news station that covered said Italian restaurant, right? But
absolutely.
What's kind of, I mean, we talked a little bit about budgets and it was like, yeah, $50 a day on an ad platform. When people put a budget for SEO, if they're going to do it themselves to get started,
absolutely.
What's a reasonable amount a month that would actually move the dial on a consistent basis?
So again, all things are measured in time or money because they're interchangeable, right?
Right.
So when it comes to your execution, you're looking at 8 pieces of content as a minimum. Okay. You're looking at,
when you say 8 pieces of content, are you talking blog posts, articles, new pages?
Significant contextual updates upon your website.
Okay.
So you could update a service page. That could be your content for the month. Google looks at the dates that things get updated, looks for those changes, wants to know you're improving things. So you could go without ever starting a blog.
Wow.
It's totally doable. There's a whole topic that we could talk about called keyword versus topicality measuring that, again, we won't dive into that, but there's a reason why blogs work. And
Okay.
it's because it builds out a topical authority.
Sure.
Again, just a whole nother piece of that content conversation. So 8 pieces of content, technical optimizations. It's a bit trickier to put a number on this. That's why I like to put a time limit on it.
Ooh, let's do that. What's the time limit?
If you can spend 2-3 hours a month pumping through as many optimizations as you can, that's a good starting spot.
Cool.
Then in your user experience, that's a tough one because it takes a lot of analysis and thinking, and maybe you just have to get a better hosting company. There's a lot to pick apart there. So that's an analysis investment initially, and then also an execution piece. But again, let's just put a time budget to it. Let's say you put another 2 to 3 hours towards that per month.
Yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, looking at backlinks, most people are not going to be as efficient spending time to get backlinks as they are just purchasing with cash.
Yeah.
So if we're saying that, spend $500
Right.
and get 4 to 6 backlinks a month. If you can go get them organically through cold outreach, through PR, through cloud stacking, whatever it might be, that's great. But budget somewhere in that $500 worth of time and or money
Got it.
to move the needle by 4 to 6 mentions.
So I think that one of the things that's great about ads, there's a lot of instant gratification.
Totally.
It's not all instant gratification. I've had in the past clients who didn't get results from complete ad campaigns. They paid a creative agency to spin up all the creative.
Mm-hmm.
And then we placed the ads. This was in my first agency years and years ago. It's a brand new product, absolutely sterling new brand. We run ads for 72 hours and they shut the whole thing down.
Whoa.
And I'm like, dude, you guys spent $125K in creative. I know because we talked with a creative agency. They're people that we referred you to. And then you spent $8K in ads over the course of 3 days. And they're like, well, but we only had a handful of purchases. And I'm like, we just got started. Like you budgeted $100,000 a month in spend for the next 6 months. We spent 8. So I think that there's a misconception too when it comes to SEO and digital ads. I want to talk about the ad side here in a second. But when it comes to SEO, you're saying, okay, $500 a month in time or money. You're going to need some other things too. How long do you push on that door? Do you push this initiative forward before you start getting a meaningful result? How patient do people need to be?
So I'm going to mention a study here. This is not my data.
Great.
I have my own opinions, but this is studied data across 10,000 SEO plans that were all identical in spend.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
They were spending $10,000 a month on SEO. I'm not recommending you go and spend $10,000 a month on SEO. We'll come back to that in a minute. This is just the study. They were spending $10,000 a month on SEO.
Okay.
And they tracked them for 3 years.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay. And they tracked them across different industries. And the data actually breaks out, industry verticals. But in general, the time to break even on the investment,
Okay.
depending on vertical, was 9 to 16 months.
To break even.
To break even on what you had spent to that point.
So essentially, if I wanted to break even
Yes.
and fall somewhere in the middle,
Yes.
somewhere between month 12 and 13,
Yeah.
I'm going to recoup, in this instance, 120 to 130 grand.
Correct. Now, this is where the data gets interesting. At the 3-year mark,
Okay.
the return on investment on the whole 3 years, on average, was over 1,000%.
10 to 1.
Correct.
Wow.
And increasing.
and exponentially increasing. It's like compound interest.
It certainly is. It certainly is. But $10,000 a month SEO plan, that's a
real.
big plan.
That's hefty.
That's a big plan.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
It's juicy. Yeah. Okay. So basically what I heard from that was, if you're going to do this, 13 months, it's like 16 months is the minimum to even just get a one-to-one.
If you are quitting on it, if you plan to quit or plan to hold SEO accountable in any time frame shorter than, I'll be generous and say 9 months, you're not committed to SEO, don't even do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there aren't outliers.
Oh, I mean, I've watched you do some things with the SEO team that are insane. I mean, we had a client last July that like we strategically, thoughtfully turned off all the ads.
Mm-hmm.
And you were in SEO.
Yep.
For the first month.
Mm-hmm.
And then 31 days of July, she ended up ranking higher in like 1,500 plus keywords in the first 31 days. And 82 keywords that she had never ranked for before, all of a sudden she was ranking for.
Yes.
Like it was bananas.
Yes.
That seems like that's an exception, not the rule.
I would say this, it's all based off of your starting spot.
Okay.
If you have a domain that's had a history of ranking for 2,000 keywords, it's not unreasonable to do that.
Yeah.
If you have a domain that has historically ranked for 13 keywords, it's not going to go to 3,000 keywords in 30 days.
Yeah.
Unless a miracle happens. Now, there are some gimmicks that we pull some special levers that are more difficult for others to pull and try and move those as quickly as possible.
Yep.
It's not a surefire thing.
Sure. Okay. All right. So you say 9 months minimum.
At a minimum.
Yeah. And that's like selling yourself short because really the reward happens 3 years from when you start.
And beyond.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Right.
Is that if you do SEO and you keep SEO, it's just going to get more profitable every month.
Right.
Every single month. Whereas with ads, if I hit a 5-to-1, I can spend more. I'm still going to get a 5-to-1 within reason.
Sure. But you could also have a downturn in the economy and all of a sudden your ROAS goes from a 5-to-1 to a 2-to-1.
That doesn't stop people from searching for you.
That's right. That's right. Or your products or whatever. Yeah. So I think that's it. On the ad side, I always tell people like minimum 90 days.
Yep.
Just because you got to have enough data. A lot of people don't understand that like the retargeting, the full funnel effect comes into full view at least 60 days after, at least 60 days after. And the more data you have in ads, same with SEO, the better the results you get. So the clients that have been with us for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, their ROAS is exponentially higher than those who just got started with us. So we have clients 161 to 1 ROAS, 80 plus ROAS for 4 or 5 other ones. Like it's insane. Like that's
Can
an
I
insane.
hire you?
Yeah, like it's an insane number. And then we've got other clients. We've got some clients that are doing 22 to 1, 28 to 1, 35 to 1, 15.5 to 1. And then we've got some that are like brand new products. Never hit the market before. We're changing people's behavior with this product too. Their ROAS is not as good. And it's like, yeah, that's going to take a longer time horizon.
Right.
So it's just a matter of like thinking about and talking with your agency or your in-house team or whatever to say, what are your expectations and are we meeting them? And if we are, great. And if we're not, why not? Then there's a conversation. Yeah, we're not meeting our expectations. Here's what we're trying to do to fix that. Right. But I do think that whenever we talk about these platforms, there's a minimum investment of money. And then there's a minimum investment of time in order to bridge the gap to getting the results that everybody wants.
Absolutely. So to bring that around for SEO, and again, there are great SEO people that can do fantastic work at a very, very low budget. And there are some SEO people that charge a ridiculously high budget for a bad product. I think that's just true about every business in the world.
Sure.
That being said, if you're serious about getting that 2-year, 3-year massive multiplier, at a minimum, you should be budgeting $2K a month.
There you go.
At a minimum.
If somebody has a team they're working with in-house, I get asked this all the time. They have a team they're working with in-house, or they're working with an agency on SEO. They've been with them 6 months, 9 months, a year. Let's say they've been with them a year.
Yeah.
What do they do to evaluate if that in-house team or that agency is doing an effective job?
I'm going to give some industry standard numbers.
Perfect.
I have different opinions because I'm mean and I think you can do better.
Okay.
The industry standard growth for an SEO agency, and this was evaluated by the legendary Neil Patel.
MP.
He studied over 160,000 accounts that claimed to be actively doing SEO. Claimed.
Sure.
Can't verify. Claimed. 160,000 accounts, though.
Yep.
Across that board, the average growth per annum was a 2x. So if you were doing 1,000 visits in January of last year, by January of this year, you should be doing 2,000 visits a month.
Okay. So that's big NP, huge influencer in the space, saying 2x. What do you say, though?
I think that you should be able to have that timeline.
2x in 6 months?
Again, it depends on the scale, scope, history,
Sure.
where your starting spot is, right? Because if you're $1 million business, doing a 2x is feasible.
Totally.
If you're a $500 million business,
Totally.
doing a 2x not nearly as feasible, right?
Yeah, there may not be enough people on the planet.
There might not be. So take it all with a grain of salt, but I think you should be able to 2x in every 6 months for your first 4 sets of 6 months.
Okay.
I think that's reasonable, excluding like a limit in the space.
Sure. Okay. Wow. Well, love that. My whole thing on the ad side is if you're trying to evaluate your in-house team, your out-of-house agency, couple things to look at, because it's like similar to SEO. There's more than just a singular number in that answer, and there's a lot more data and qualitative items that need to be accounted for. That being said, one of the things you want to see is that they waste, quote unquote, waste some ad spend. Meaning they're trying something new. They're trying things new. It's not a waste, because sometimes those things you try, they work really well. They end up being the thing that you run with.
You were just telling me an example of that.
Absolutely, man. I've had some moments where I've had clients that literally had worked with 5 other agencies. They had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm not exaggerating in the slightest, did not get one purchase.
The one you were telling me was about a creative change that seemed unoptimal.
Yeah.
But it was tried.
Yeah. And you got to try it.
You got to try it.
And so the thing that's helpful is knowing what doesn't work is just as helpful as knowing what does.
Absolutely.
So it's less about the ROAS. The ROAS is important. A lot of people love that return on ad spend as a number. We talk about it all the time. It's also the logic behind it, and are they gaining?
Yeah.
So like one of the things we represent some pretty large brands, represent one of the world's biggest golf equipment companies on the planet. And we helped them have their best ROAS in Q4 of last year ever. It's impressive. It's not a small number of ROAS. And the win there is not the actual number, it's the growth year over year. And so that's what I keep looking at from the team is like, are we growing? Are we evolving? Are we learning? Can your ad agency or in-house team in digital or SEO articulate to you at the end of the year or the end of their contract, hey, these are the things that we figured out this year. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Here's what works. Here's what we figured out doesn't work. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And if they can't do that, then I think it's time to look for someone new, regardless of ROAS, because another team is probably going to be more equipped for you there. And I am a firm believer that curiosity, it's one of our core values for our agency, curiosity leads to excellent results. And sometimes those excellent results, the curve line can go a little bit bumpy, even go down a little bit before it cranks back up, because continual curiosity leads you to better results. So that's my jam. That's my jam.
What about any other channels like email?
Email is all about being testy too. It's like, hey, let's test this. What if we do this headline? What if we tell a story instead of trying to make a sale? What happens if we stop doing sales altogether via email and we just talk about new products? Like, there are ways that you're going to test that also. I always say 90 days minimum on that, like with an agent. I think that if you're not giving your direct response agencies, the ones that are like trying to get a result right now, that would be email, text message, ads, anything that's really driving to that conversion. If they're not really getting improving results towards the tail end of that 90-day time period, that's when I start to have concerns. And again, they may not be great results compared to your expectations. They're just improving results from where they started. That's the key. That's really important. But I think that, when it comes to email is really lucrative for every brand. Services, professional services, home services, and e-commerce, retail, you name it. Like, it's a massive driver still, y'all. I know it's crazy, but it's real. And so they should be getting results out of the gate. The one that we both love, that Jake and I both really adore, is SEO, and it is one of the longer tail options. It's not the only long tail one. Organic social media.
Organic social too.
Takes a long time. Podcasting can take a while.
I'll give you the difference though.
This is
why social
hit me.
This is why social is sexier than SEO. Okay? You can't go viral in SEO.
It's true.
Just doesn't happen.
Yeah, c'est impossible.
But in social, you could be floating around getting your 200 to 500 views for free for a month, for 2 months. You could have 5 followers. And then you put that one magical piece of content out there.
Totes.
Bang, zoom, straight to the moon.
Yep.
And it's real, y'all. I can tell you it's real, not just from helping people do it, but from doing it for myself. I had been just testing out social for myself. I've been doing it for about 45 days. Not a lot of traction. Granted, looking back at those videos, I understand entirely, because that's the other twist on social, is you suck at it when you start. No one starts good at social. Even if you have a consultant who is successful at it, you have to find your own rhythm, and it takes time. But I posted 2 videos that were within a 72-hour span of each other. One of them did 1.2 million, which was big, going from less than 1,000 views a video. The other one did about 1.8, skyrocket ship up to 18K followers.
Nice.
And got my first 2 leads from TikTok.
Amazing.
And that's what started it all for me on that side of the house. And it's not linear. And
Right.
I have droughts to this day.
Yeah.
You'll go through an absolute streak of just banger after banger after banger, and you're hitting great numbers. And then you'll just hit a dead wall for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Where it's so easy. And that's the nice thing about SEO, is that I know everything we're doing is going to compound.
Yep.
With social, it's video to video. There's no compound interest. So it's very easy to go, did I lose it? Am I over? Am I done? But you plow through it, and that 7th week, You have one that clicks.
Yep.
And you're right back to it. Give me that hit, daddy.
Yeah. 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 Love that. Well, good episode, man. I like this one.
Yeah. And if you want to dive deeper on what executions might look like for different brands, different businesses, you should check out our other podcast called The Last Drop. And in The Last Drop, we actually pick a business, either based on a real one or a fictional one. And we will go through in a very fun environment of what we would do to take that business from 0 to 1 million or 0 to 10 million and break down those processes, those execution actions, and also ideate what problems might come up from that. So if you would love to see that kind of detailed execution style content, go follow The Last Drop on Vox and Coin.
Love it. Thanks for joining us for another episode. If you're loving the content, please go give us a subscribe and a rating or review. It really helps to grow the show, helps other people to find us. And you can also find us on social media at RealDVal, at Jake the Wizard of Marketing. And until next time, catch ya.